All right, let's talk motivation. Every PT has heard something along these lines. I know what to do, but I just can't get myself to do it. Patients will crush their home programming the day before they're going to follow up, but then struggle all that other time in between and during the week. Other examples, students will cram for their exams. In general, a lot of us, we thrive on deadlines and then collapse once those deadlines disappear. It's not quite laziness. There's some neuroscience behind it, and understanding this changes everything for rehab, for learning, and honestly for life. Here's the deal. Your brain has two motivation circuits, extrinsic and intrinsic. Extrinsic, we might think deadlines, grades, rewards, external pressures. Intrinsic, we more think along the lines of curiosity, exploration, finding meaning. But here's the kicker too. When one set of circuitry is active, the other begins to become inhibited. And then this will span across all facets of our motivations in life, whether it be type of motivation for relationships, for career success, for personal striving towards goals. So, in one way, extrinsic motivators can work, but if that's the only circuit we work on and exercise, it may not be the best type of motivation for other aspects of our life. So we also have to get some reps in on that intrinsic motivation circuitry as well. So here's some of the neuroscience that backs some of this up. So in the extrinsic motivation circuitry, we see areas of the brain called the amygdala, our ACC, or anterior cingulate cortex, our ventromedial prefrontal cortex, or VMPFC, and ventral striatum light up. Now, conversely, when we look at intrinsic motivation, we actually see deactivation of this same set of circuitry in the brain. So we've kind of been able to map out how this looks in regards to motivation, which is really cool. So, if your life is built around, deadlines, external validations, efficiency hacks even, you're running on extrinsic fuel and starving this intrinsic system. So that's why some of us, we can show up for a 30-day fitness challenge when there's that calendar due date and a leaderboard function as well. But then once that program ends, our sneakers kind of collect us in the corner. Now, dopamine is a bridge between these two circuits. In extrinsic mode, dopamine comes from outside resources like, again, rewards, praise, getting graded, likes, money. Intrinsic mode is, you're going to see dopamine is going to be more getting fueled by curiosity, exploration, self-discovery, things of that nature. So if all your dopamine, feel-good hormones tied to external hits, scrolling, deadlines, playing video games, praise, you drain that well quick. So, patients say, I don't have time or energy to exercise. It's not necessarily just willpower, it's also dopamine allocation. And if we're running the well dry on extrinsic motivators and that's all we are able to flex, then we're going to have a hard time picking up this new habit and building that motivation for it. So how do we flip this switch? In motivational psychology, there's this concept of the Rubicon model, and this gives us a path. So it defines kind of clear boundaries between motivation and phases of action. So let's say we have a patient who returns after the initial evaluation or has repeatedly mentioned not doing their exercises. Heard that one, we see it every day. 1, we want to generate options. Instead of maybe saying, do your homework, do your exercises, or else we're not going to see changes. We're not going to move towards our goals, achieve our goals. Ask perhaps, what are 3 ways that you could move today? Give them ownership. Pass it on to them. It may not be exactly what you want them to do, but that's not the point. We just want them to get started. We want them to flex that intrinsic motivation, not seek our praise. 2, anticipate outcomes. So we want to guide our patients. We want to guide them. thinking and reflect, what might each of these options we chose or looked at, talked about, feel like? Do we feel like, oh, this is going to feel like a comfortable stretch? This will help my pain. This will, move me towards, feeling better, functioning better. Plan and act. Pick the easiest option and commit to it. So, if we have someone who's struggling with just the 2 or 3 maybe exercises you started with, then let's kind of put that to a side. Again, have them generate maybe 3 things on their own that they can approach. And let's pick the easiest option and commit to it. Hold them to it. They made the decision. Now, last bit of this, reflection. Next section, and prime them for this. Next session, we're going to check back in on and see what worked, what didn't work. Let's refine that. This whole shift goes from an external locus of control, meaning I was given these things, I don't have much ownership over it, I am going to do this for somebody else because they gave me this programming, versus I chose this, I decided which option I can commit to, and I'm also being present on what is this doing for me, what worked, what didn't work with this. That's more active participation. So then this kind of turns into, my schedule won't let me to, here's how I chose to fit this in my day. So that process of re-engaging the intrinsic circuitry, reflection especially, is a missing rep for motivation. We rarely do it, yet it's what locks in the learning. It's the secret of the sauce. So in PT practice, this can be massive. So again, when we look at the extrinsic model, you can kind of think of this as compliance policing. With that intrinsic model, we're leading more towards a curiosity-driven self-agency. If you build care around these deadlines and physical therapist oversight, patients succeed typically under supervision. But if we can help build care around options, anticipation, reflection, we will see success after discharge too. Now that's long-term wellness. So the next time you or your patient says, I just can't follow through, remember, it's not weakness, it's circuitry. Deadlines don't build motivation, they hijack it. So try this Rubicon model instead. Generate some options, anticipate outcomes, plan and act, then reflect. And if you want more PT cheat codes that translate neuroscience or other general aspects of wellness into real world rehab and life success, hit subscribe, share this with a colleague, and stay tuned for my intrinsic motivation booster. See you later, y'all.